So, cue the hot, sweaty people. Why can't I get a good Bane? Why can't I get a good Bane? Like, why can't I get a Bane that actually, one, is scary? Because I don't want to hear that Mr. Magoo thing that the Christopher Nolan movies had him doing. First, you mustn't go. No, it wasn't badass. It wasn't. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, the sheepskin coat was kind of cool, and that's becoming a thing with Bane now. But apart from that, lame. And then even worse, I'm sorry, even with a bad knee, Batman can kick the shit out of a regular muscle bound badass. Like he just can. He's got a belt full of weapons. Like he can just can.
I'm
So the
sorry.
fact that he gets his ass kicked, I
I
don't care
have
how bad his knee is.
I have
He's
to share
supposed to
this.
win that fight if you're going to take away Bane's main superpower. If a regular muscle bound guy, Batman would be out of a job a long time ago if he can't kick this dude's ass. And then we do have to mention the Bane from Batman and Robin. I think that was the George Clooney one. Bane was in that. He was Uma Thurman's bitch, and we can move on. Another villain that they can't seem to do right for some reason is Doctor Doom. Now, they've only taken two real stabs at giving us a Doctor Doom. There was the campy Fantastic Four movies. They happened. And then there was the last Fan Four Stick Fantastic Four movies. And they made Doctor Doom. I don't know what the hell he was supposed to be perfectly honest with you. But that was one of those movies that just kept getting worse the longer you watched it. And then they failed Doctor Doom at the end. So another thing, like I was looking forward to finally seeing a good depiction of Doctor Doom, and it was a massive failure. And then last, I think I'm last. I'm not sure if I'm last, but I do have to mention Lady Stoneheart. Lady Stoneheart? Yeah, all right. Lady
Going back to
Stoneheart.
GOT, going back to that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I was sorry that they did not find a way to. I mean, first of all, don't tell me that you guys are against zombies. That's bullshit. And secondly, that woman is an amazing actress, and that's an amazing character. And I don't care who you are, you did not see that coming. You didn't see it coming. You simply didn't. And the way that it kind of makes sense. I mean, the way that she was killed, that kind of rage, that kind of betrayal, like everything that she had lost, seeing her come back as this monster, I think would have been a perfect metaphor, not only for what hate and revenge does to you, but ultimately those who betray and what they deserve. I don't know what they're going to do. That there's going to be a prequel series, I guess. There's going to be like who knows? I don't know what they're going to end up doing with it, but that would have been actually pretty fucking badass if I could have seen her make an appearance in those movies. That's it. That's my time.
Oh, taking that time. Gonna yield. Yes, yielded his time. Got it back in the beginning.
Greg, I apologize. It's just I pushed this out of my mind and it literally came out like a shotgun blast when the thought popped up, that to the point where I had Tourette's. So I apologize. All I was gonna say, and again, I apologize. I should have interrupted you. Was that Payne's voice in the movie literally made me think like it was Bane trying to do the penguin impersonation the whole movie, which made me like hard to concentrate on the entire. Like I barely remember that movie because I literally was concentrating on two different thoughts at that point. The whole movie, which is first, it's still bad. Like Bane's voice is bad, but him doing an impersonation of someone's bad. But also, so wait, is there a secret penguin in this movie? Like, is he really trying? Is this like one of the best Easter eggs I've ever come across? Where to point where it's so meta, Bane's like, I can't fucking stand this guy. And you know what? I'm just gonna fuck with Batman, but I'm gonna totally do the penguin the whole time. And someone else is on the side like, yeah, you gotta do it. It's like, watch me. Well, I'm totally gonna do it. It's almost like the meow game for villains. super villains. It's like you won't get to 10 meows. Yeah, I'll do it right now. I'll do it right now.
I was gonna throw in the Snyder cut, because it was like you already got a Justice League movie that you weren't that crazy about, but then he goes and gives you a longer Justice League movie that you're not crazy about, and the Wonder Woman theme that keeps coming in I wanted to rage quit. I seriously wanted to just make this movie stop. Like, I just wanted it to stop.
Picture the movie you didn't like before, but longer.
Right.
Well, it goes to your point earlier, Greg, of like part of the problem is definitely there, not reading the room and understanding what fans' feedback is. Because that's totally like one person made a good point of, what was really cool in the 80s of a really bad TV show, objectively and subjectively, was we all nostalgically fondly remember the sound of part of Wonder Woman, the TV show, and they're like, cool. So what you're saying is you want 4 hours of that? I'm like, no one said that. No one ever fucking said that.
No.
Like, cool. So we'll give you 8 hours, 3 different movies. What the fuck are you listening to? No one's saying that.
Yeah. And it's like, all right, yeah, I'll admit we want Batman dark and brooding, but we don't want everyone dark and brooding. We don't need everyone dark and brooding.
But
no
do
one
you
asked
want
for
it
that.
all the time though? Because I have to argue the earlier Batmans were successful more than we give them credit for, even outside the Keaton ones. The problem was it was up against how good the Keaton was. Camp Batman works when it's done well.
You guys gone Don it. You did it. You did it for me. Look at you guys. You brought that segue fucking home. I love it. You couldn't. Just setting me up. Love it. Just coming to the plate now. Nothing but slow rollers, easy stuff. Just get me warmed up, but I love it. And God bless you both, because now I gotta come on in here and just just go right after the spicy meatballs. But since my other two esteemed gentlemen brought it up so well, and you brought it up, in both of it, human beings are the disease, are the cure. Now, talking about Batman being dark and brooding, that's what I've been thinking about all week, is that they have tried so much to do, and they have done it to a certain extent, but they've tried so hard to recreate the experience that I had as a kid. Year was 1986. I was 12 years old. Earlier that year, I'd watched the Red Sox botch their World Series everyone remembers the ball going through Bill Buckner's legs, which, is just one of those memorable moments. But they always forget we had one more game back here in Boston to lose it. So we actually lost it at home to have our heart ripped out. That was game 6. That was the comeback game for the Mets. Jesus. But I pedaled my way down to my local comic book store, and I picked up at the time, which was a completely new concept. This is the series of graphic novels, and graphic novels in and of themselves were pretty avant-garde and pretty cutting edge, like to get certain subjects. And they were the ones that tried to dig deeper and take it into. One of my favorite ever was an X-Men, was the first X-Men graphic novel. God Loves, Man Kills. Loved it. Just that idea of a Southern preacher who was, preaching against mutants and trying to take them out of the gene pool, just opening up these deeper and darker subjects. But I went down and got a couple of original copies at the time of a writer named Frank Miller, who wrote The Dark Knight Returns. And this is where we've been robbed. This is where Batman, when it comes to being dark and brooding, has always been trying to get back to, and we've never just really, at least in the live action sense, done it. For those of you who aren't comic book fans, it was our first glimpse of the idea of Batman being gritty, being on that edge. Like, where does he go? Would he kill somebody? Would he not? When does he kill somebody? What are the reasons? How bad has it gotten in Gotham? Like, is it really just totally overrun with crime and with corruption? It was taken from the view of looking back. We're looking from the future, but back to the past. This idea that Batman had retired, that Bruce had gotten old, and the city had been left without its champion. was just such a key idea. It interfaced with Ronald Reagan and the Russians and everything that was going on in the Cold War there. And it even brought us, because of that, the concept of Batman versus Superman, right? So all of these things are really what we've wanted. What we've gotten has been, as you say, hit and miss. I really did like when I liked the first two Nolan-verse movies because they were at least trying to do it. They were going for the grounded approach, but they were trying to do the darker thing. It was a little more like a later series Miller had done called Batman Year One. You know, and the idea of the young Batman and how he gets started and how did you really get here? When did you put on the bat suit? And what is the purpose of this? And what kind of man does that? It made comic books serious to me. That was one of the first ones. And then Watchmen and a few others that made the idea of taking them just a little bit more seriously. And when you're 12, that's all you want anyone to do for you. You want to be taken seriously at 12. Do you deserve to be taken seriously at 12? Well, at my 40s, no, you don't. But shout out to all the 12-year-olds who are trying. Like, it's that first, you got that burst of hormones and you're starting to grow and you're starting to become a man, a woman, whatever gender you desire. That you're starting to grow, right? You have this expanded sense of yourself and you're really trying to be more than you are right now, but you're trapped in that 12-year-old body. So the idea that someone would take something that was really cartoonish and childish and try and take it seriously and give it some depth was amazing. That's why we loved Miller's Dark Knight Returns. And it gave us that first Batman versus Superman moment. But he just kept it in that own way of grounded. The fact is, and Rashawn's mentioned it, Superman would absolutely kill Batman if he had the desire to.
No question.
There's no question and no doubt. He at least hobbled him. He hobbles Superman, that he goes up against a nuke and gets blocked out from the sun a little bit before. So he's coming in a little weak. And they do an end around. The fact is that Superman doesn't really want to kill Bruce, so we got that. He's got that going for him. He's holding back, and Batman, of course, does the advanced planning and brings out a one-armed Green Arrow who pulls the bow back with his teeth to shoot him with the kryptonite arrow. Because it is Superman, so you've always got to work the kryptonite in there somewhere. But it just, as I said, it had this depth to it, a kind of gravitas. The Robin in it was a girl whose parents were, kind of always just smoking weed and just leaving her as a latchkey kid, which so identified with all of us kids in the 80s. So it was just, the kids were there. And yeah, I mean, we fed them today, right? Did you feed the kid? Did you change the kid's litter box? It was in that vein that Robin came from that, as opposed to this kind of goody two shoes. And she was in a bit over her head. So it just had all these other themes that no one at that time had explored. It was really just a much deeper and darker theme. And as I said, I really think the closest they got and the best they got, quite honestly, was the Dark Knight movie they made, the Christopher Nolan one. And I'm very fond of the Joker as they did it there. He creeped me out. He creeped me out like Hannibal Lecter, because he had, I just thought, in that introduction scene originally, when he kind of comes in, I'm like, man, he's doing like a Hannibal Lecter thing here. He's really, really creeping me out. Like, he's just got that deeper image of this psychopath, and that you could kind of picture, you could kind of picture a face being ripped off, and that's Jim Pembroke, damn it. Moment here with the Joker. You could totally see that of him getting out of Arkham Asylum. Shout out to H.P. Lovecraft and Arkham Asylum in Massachusetts. Arkham, Massachusetts, where all the bad stuff dwells. But it really was just such a fantastic piece of source material. Now, to its credit, HBO aired a animated film that is pretty much those graphic novels, to the point where they even do still shots. One of the things that Miller had in it were these large, like 2-page or 1-page, almost taking up the entire frame. And Greg, being the artist, particularly the comic book artist, can appreciate it. Just how they did, they had those moments, right? You turn that page and you get this really big fold out. I think it might have even been a couple of fold outs in them. I'm not sure, but they managed to work those into that animated version of it, which was great. And gave us a little something closer to it, to what we had seen. I'm still That's where I still feel a little robbed. You know, they've tried it. They know that's what we want. And then